Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening at home. Welcome to all of you. So I'd like to start, as I always do, by just shout out to some local areas. So we're going to talk about owls tonight. And I know owls are obviously hard to see during the day. But two things. One, we hope to be seeing short-eared owls rather soon. But not the last time I was at one of the Audubon sanctuaries. Um, so forgive me, I'm just going to think there's some background noise in some place. One of the sanctuaries of Audubon near Warwick called Long Swamp, at 10 o'clock in the morning, I've been hearing great horned owls. There's one territory, and we took a little walk. We got to see one. So you may see owls. We'll see screech owls in the presentation tonight that were actually filmed here on campus as students were walking by. So you never know when you're going to see those. We were at the Bashakill management area this weekend doing a hike. One of our attendees on the way there saw a pheasant. I had seen the pheasant the previous time. So of the birds that we're about to see, who knows? There's still great places in our area where you can do hikes. And if you are interested in birding, etc., these organizations would love to see more of you, whether it be the Bashville Area Association, Orange County Audubon, the Mearns Bird Club. There's Audubon chapters in Sullivan County and in Pike County in the Milford area. So if you like getting out and about talking about birds, you have people. Okay. So tonight is part of a series where we hope to look at all of the different kinds of birds. And there are some times where I'm actually rather proud of the order in which we're going. Tonight is not one of those nights. Because as you know, last time we were talking about raptors. What's a raptor? Well, a couple of decades ago, it was pretty easy. They are birds of prey. They're all related. They all have the talons. They all have these things. We put them together in a group in a bird guide. You find them all in the same group. Now we don't think that they're related. All right. And then so like old world vultures are not related to new world vultures. These eagles are related to these hawks, while these eagles are related to those hawks. The new world vultures, they're not really related to hawks and eagles at all closely. Falcons aren't related at all. They're actually more closely related to songbirds. And that leads us to the owls. So owls are more closely related to hawks and eagles, we think, than most other bird groups, but not closely at all. So the word raptor makes sense for us, like birds of prey. But if we're trying to make biological groups that are like true relatives, raptors are tough. And so we're just kind of, well, we want to talk all about all of them at some point. So we did hawks, eagles, vultures, and falcons last time, and we'll do owls tonight. And I'm not proud of that order, but we've been shuffling our relationships with these birds. So owls, birds of prey. Well, like I said, you can actually, if you keep your eyes peeled, so this looks like this remote spot. This was right across campus here at a tree. The tree's right in front of the mansion. And so there's like pavement right next to this. Little screech owl came out and looked. So owls are certainly definitive. I mean, look at that head. I mean, owls just have big heads. Like many of the raptors, they'll sit and look for prey. So unlike the little songbirds that never stop moving. If you're trying to identify the birds, you got binoculars or camera. Little birds in the branches never stop moving. You come away from bird watching more frustrated than anything. But when you see a raptor, like the one I was just rooting on the Colts playing soccer here, there's a red-tailed hawk that just landed in the tree across the way and just sat there. I mean, raptors tend to stay put. That's awfully nice of them. Owls are primarily nocturnal, although there are certainly some, like burrowing owls, that can be active in the day, and a number that can come out at dusk. I mean, you see the screech owl here. We'll be looking at the short-eared owls presently. There is plenty which is amazing about them. I see something. Okay, you can hear. Oh, my head's cut off in the screen. That was out of consideration for you, but all right, we'll fix that. There you go. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was in a meeting not too long ago, and I was sitting down. Thank you for pointing that out. My students never do, so thank you very much. But owls are specialized for hunting at night. Because most mammals are not. We don't think of that because, like, I'm a mammal, and cats and dogs are mammals, and like a lot of the mammals used to sing are active during the day. But the average mammal is a rodent. All right, rodents make almost half of mammal species, and bats make up the next biggest group of 20%. So mammals come out at night. So if you want prey, most birds don't. So mammals get a pass at night, except by the owls. And so this is one of the great things about them. Great horned owls, which we're going to see in a second, like this one, they don't even smell. They don't have a sense of smell much at all, which not only makes them good at hunting rodents, makes them good at hunting skunks. I mean, no one wants to eat a skunk unless you can't smell. So, being nocturnal, there's just all of these opportunities to feed yourself. Now, they can be active in the day, so this owl's, eyes and ears certainly function during the day. But let me just, pause and talk about owls in general. Welcome, welcome. First off, not, not to be insulting. Um, so I want to talk about what's great about an owl, but let's start off by talking about what's not great about an owl. Owls have the reputation of being wise, right? The wise old owl, etc. I got my doctorate at Temple University, Temple owls. So I should say nothing but, wonderful thing about owls. However, the head of a great horned owl may be the size of a tennis ball, all right? In that they have put eyes as big as yours. So their eyes are as big as yours. All right. They have amazing ability to hear, as we'll go through. And if you're thinking, all right, head the size of a tennis ball, you think about how big the brain is. Now add eyes the size of yours, big ears. That's not a lot of room for everything else. So, owls, they have a lot of great qualities. Wisdom, I'm not sure, is high ranking. However, on the vision, you and I have different types of photoreceptors. We have cones, which see in bright light and see in color. But then we have rods, which we use for black, white, and shades of gray at dusk. We don't have many rods. We focus on the cones. We like color vision. So our vision at night is horrible. But other animals do the opposite. They say, well, let's nix the cones. Let's just concentrate on the rods. And so therefore their visual acuity is excellent. If an owl would like to hunt in an area, say the size of, say, four football stadiums, the light of one candle is enough. All right, so like small amounts of light, and they can see. But not only do they have great sight, their hearing is so amazing. Like they hunt rodents in winter. How do you do that? They're under the snow. Owls can hear them under the snow. You can see an owl in a tree, all of a sudden it will go into the snow and come out with a rodent. So they hear the rodents under a couple of inches of snow so well enough that they know exactly where to put their talons. So they are amazing with vision. They are amazing with their hearing. This is an immature great horned owl. Notice it doesn't yet have the tufts of feathers, which get its name. And their faces kind of act like dishes, which are focusing sound towards their ears. Great horned owls, they're the largest owls in our area. Barred owls are nice because they often come out around dusk. So we've actually had decent luck with maybe once every 3 or 4 times where we go looking for barred owls along the Heritage Trail. We see them. So if you'd like to see a barred owl, it's not a surefire bet, but it's a good probability. If you park where 6.5 Station Road meets the Heritage Trail, and instead of going right towards the Audubon Sanctuary, if you go left, barred owls have been nesting there for probably 10 years. And in spring, around dusk, it's pretty reliable, especially if you see like a bunch of people like all kind of in one area looking off into the woods. That's a good sign. So, barred owls frequent our area. They have their name because they have these horizontal bars across their chest and then some vertical striping lower down. All right. And so this is, I'm hiking along the Delaware and it's late afternoon and there's a barred owl active. So while there are owls which are just nocturnal, they won't come out until it's dark. There are a lot that, late afternoon, they can be active. Now, because they blend in so well with their brown colors, you might have to be paying attention, because, as they, you know, huddle up against tree bark, you might be easy to miss them. But nevertheless, you could see owls during the day. All right, and so yeah, whenever we get more about it. So it was on some Audubon hikes. Um, is Barbara here? Who it was her vision, which all right, if Barbara's here, salute to Barbara. We were all walking along, and she was the one who spotted the barred owl. So kudos to her. But once again, we're on the paved heritage trail, and here just off to the side. So there are certainly great owls which you can see. Now, a lesson that it took me a long time to learn. So I apologize. I know some of you have heard this, but I always emphasize it. Uh, you can do great birding at any time of year. All right. Now, I always used to think I'm not birding in winter because it's too cold. And only later did I realize, well, then you've missed all the winter birds. There are birds that you can only see in winter. One of them is the short-eared owl. All right. Short-eared owls are beautiful birds that often come out at dusk, so they're easy enough to see. And there are two great places to see them, the Shawangunk grasslands heading towards the Shawangunk Ridge, and my favorite place is the Liberty Loop in Unionville, just on the Jersey um, border in the Wallkill National Wildlife Refuge. Now, so I apologize. I'm just laughing because it was 2 years ago that I was going to give a walk, as I will this winter, hoping to see these birds. And I went there 2 days before the walk, and these birds, like they were coming out late afternoon, sunlight on them, posing in front of the camera. Couldn't have asked for a nicer thing. So I told everyone to tell all your friends we're going to see great owls there. And then 2 days later, it is cold and rainy, which the owls didn't like at all. And later in the week, actually, I was having trouble chewing, and I was trying to figure out why. But like when I tell everyone we're going to see great birds and we see absolutely nothing, apparently, like I like my jaw muscles clench, and so I went around the whole thing just like, where are these owls? I think they're going to come out. Like I hurt myself. So anyway, so don't do that. But if you were to hike come December, they are only here in winter. All right, so December, January, February, we'll see them, but then they go farther north to Canada. So if so winter is a great time to go birding. There's a whole bunch of birds which we will see. And marshes are great because they have like rodents like voles, which will run around and make a lot of noise. And so during the day, the harrier hawks are just like swooping over looking for them. And then dusk comes and the harrier hawks go wherever they go. They turn in for the night. And then the short-eared owls come out. And they're this brief moment where they're still both in the sky. So you're like, that's a harrier, that's a short-eared owl. Sometimes they fight with each other. But this is a great bird. Not many people, get to see them. And, they do spend time in Orange County, but only in the winter. So, winter walks, especially at the Shawangunk grasslands or the Liberty Loop and the Wallkill Preserve, certainly things to keep out on, to keep your eye on. And just once again, just around dusk, if you're just watching the over the marsh, you'll see them and like, oh yeah, there. And sometimes you'll see multiple ones, and they're kind of playing or they're fighting with the uh, I think I put that in somewhere. So I think, yeah, I think somewhere in here. Yeah. So that's an owl. That's an owl. That's an owl. Oh, that's a harrier. See the white spot on the tail. So the harrier is almost done for the day with the as dusk approaches. But the owls are just coming out and they wrestle a bit. So there's the harrier. There's the owls. Right. So anyway, so yeah, so there are a number of owls which we have, and uh, and Orange County is a great place for them. Screech owls are a little smaller, as we heard at the beginning. Their calls are often likened to the whinnying of a horse. And so if you hear something at night and you're like, that sounds like a horse, like, you're like, oh, that's a screech owl. And like I said, this one is actually was living in a tree 150 yards from here right on the edge of the campus. Once I was in the woods, and this was a young screech owl that was just learning to be independent, and its parents were around trying to encourage it. Etc. Screech owls are small, but they actually get a little smaller in our area. I've never seen a saw-whet owl, but I had a friend who did raptor rehabilitation programs, um, and this was a saw-whet owl. Okay, so uh, depending on how you use the word raptor, uh, uh, owls are in that, and I'd prefer not to say any more because just and I teach genetics and I teach anatomy and classification. So I have respect for both, but the geneticists, they just throw a monkey wrench into everything. Because like everyone else says, like, this is how we classify the groups. And the geneticists, no, I compared all their DNA and no, these guys belong in this group and these guys belong in this group. And just, you got so used to, like, for example, we'll talk about these later, but scarlet tanagers, they're not tanagers, they're cardinals. And if you like cardinalias, these cardinals, they're not cardinals, they're tanagers. Oh, drives you. If you like Darwin's finches, not finches, they're tanagers. So anyway, we'll talk about those later. So geneticists drive everybody else crazy. But now we shift into other non-passerine birds. Once again, I like to classify things into groups, and I'm not happy with myself tonight because tonight's lecture is everything that doesn't fit into one of the other lectures. All right, so that's not a good classification system. Um, Most birds alive today are songbirds. They are classified in the same order called order Passeriformes. So when I just said these are non-passerine land birds, this means I'm not talking about the ducks and I'm not talking about the herons. I'm talking about birds which are primary on land, but they're not songbirds. So that's the only thing I can say about everybody else who follows. So we'll just go. We start off with turkeys, all right? And turkeys are interesting because they're old. Like if you were to like make a family tree of birds, we think that things like ostriches and rheas, they are the first branch off of the bird family tree of the birds alive today. But we don't have their fossils, so yeah, like we're pretty sure of that. We just don't have the fossils. But the next question is, so that would be them. That so before the dinosaurs died out, their branch probably split from the others. But then how about the ducks, the chickens, and the turkeys? Well, now that's interesting because they either split off from the other birds right before the dinosaurs died or right after. So that branch of the bird family tree, the fowl, whether it be waterfowl of ducks or the turkeys and chickens, they're old. All right. And so, they go way back. And I find that interesting. But we move on into the birds which we see here. I do have a song featuring the bass, which some of you heard coming in, about the turkeys, because one of the most impressive things in spring is their displays of the males. Not only the display of the tail feathers here, but as you saw, like their face is interesting. They've got these weird things called caruncles going on with these colored fleshy protuberances. And if you look close enough, you'll see that most males have beards and most females don't. And you'll see what I mean as you go on. There's actually a tuft of feathers which comes out from their chest called the beard. You can see it maybe right in there, right in there. And we'll see more here. But there's a number of things that the males have going on to attract the female. There's like the beard there. Okay. Um, we talk about bald eagles almost going extinct. Uh, same would true with turkeys. Now, I love birds. I want to say really, you know, great things about birds. But this is my daughter's car, and this is a male turkey that is convinced that its reflection in my daughter's car is a rival, and it just then pecks my daughter's car and makes dents in it, and I have to go and chase them off. So I love birds, but when one's pecking your daughter's car and doing damage, mixed blessing there. Um, the females raise the young alone. So here but they may hang out in groups. So multiple females may hang out in groups here, and then especially and in winter they form larger groups. Lots of birds do. Lots of birds have different behavior, say in the warmer months versus the colder months. And if like they're, in the
Oh,
warmer months, you may not see them in big groups, but in winter, you may see flocks of gazillions of birds. And you say, where did I see this in summer? Well, they don't act like that in summer. And in winter, the same thing applies, that they start to hang out in much larger groups as they forage for food uh, than uh, than they once did. Oh, wait, think I have one more video. So one of the points I was, oh yeah, if you look closely, if it's breeding time, birds do change their color throughout the year. So here you can see uh, when they have young, they don't want to stick out. Obviously they want to camouflage so that predators have trouble finding them. So that's true. But if you look at the breeding season, especially in sunlight, there's a whole lot of color going on there. Some iridescence in the feathers. We'll get, oh, I'm sorry, this is in the way. So between the red and the blue on the caruncles on the head, but if you just see the sunlight hitting those iridescent feathers, there's a lot of color going on there. So birds make different feathers at different times of the year as they go through molts, and depending on what hormones they have in their body, they can then modify how they make the feathers and put pigments in their feathers at one part of the year that they're not going to use at another part of the year. So turkeys can be quite colorful. We lost them from New York State because they were so hunted. But they have come back, and we're thrilled with that. And so, when we talk about success stories, the bald eagle, the peregrine falcon are among the success stories. But so are Canada geese, which were hard to find, believe it or not. So if you're sick of Canada geese, well, good. I mean, that's a sign of a comeback and how protecting birds can bring things back to from scarcity. Great egrets were the same way. Here we can see trapped on some trail cameras at Audubon Sanctuary some of the young video of young turkeys. Great. Now I'll show you the best video I have, and then we'll probably go to an image or two. Here's a pheasant. Pheasants are just stunningly beautiful birds. Not to be picky, they don't belong here. All right, so they're not native to the United
mm,
States. Then again, neither am I. Like people aren't either. So like we came from other places. So I'm not being overly critical of the pheasants. But they were originally introduced from Asia because people liked how they looked and they liked them as game birds. And we do have them in our area. Once again, one of the attendees of our hike was it Saturday or Sunday? Sunday I saw them, and I saw them at the Bashik Hill a week ago. So they are hard to see. We'll just go through the turkey pictures first. And here you can see all the colors. Ow! Wow, I didn't do it. It's in my Audubon. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got it's on my calendar. Why didn't I put it in? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I had my pheasant picture from the Bashik Hill. If I think of where I would have put it. Urgh. Okay, it's on the calendar that I don't have with me. All right, sorry. I was going to show you another picture of a pheasant. Also in this group is called the ruffed grouse. Now there are birds, we're worried about all birds. Bird numbers have dropped by about a quarter. North America's lost about a quarter of its birds in the recent decades. So that is not good at all. But some bird populations are decreasing faster. Ruffed grouse would be among them. So we worry about these. But if you'd like to see ruffed grouse, which are pretty hard to see, uh, a key is in winter, like it's so cold, they like patches of rhododendron. So if you know any woodsy forests that have like a rhododendron patch, and there are trails that I know of in Pennsylvania where you're surrounded by green. It's just all mountain laurel and rhododendron, which don't drop their leaves. So in the middle of winter, oh, it's this great green trail. But ruffed grouse like that, the protection from the wind that those leaves offer. So it's not too infrequent that I see them there. So, there are ways that you can see some of these birds. Okay. Shifting into another group. we have the groups of doves and pigeons. Now, a lot of birds struggle in winter. Turkeys do, all right, because when there's a lot of snow on the ground, they can't. I mean, the way they eat is they're going to like scratch up the dirt and look for like seeds and grubs or whatever. They can eat a lot of diverse material. They can even eat the like walnuts. The turkey gizzard is so strong, like it can take a walnut and do that, and then they digest it, which that's pretty strong. Um, but if it's cold and snowy, they're in a tree, all right? Because they can't feed on the ground in 2 feet of snow. And if it lasts too long, then they die. Mourning doves also not great at cold. All right, so believe it or not, a lot of birds have been expanding northwards as climate change has warmed the area. Mourning doves spend more time in the winter here, but they do suffer die-offs when you have like really cold snaps um, uh, uh, in the winter. Right. So, do they migrate? All right. Well, this is a tough thing. Like I always thought that like migration was a yes or no, question. Do they migrate? Yes, this bird does. No, they don't. Actually, most birds are partial migrants in our area, which means it's not yes or no. It means that Canada's birds always go south because it's too cold in Canada. Georgia's birds probably spend the winter just where they are. And in the middle, maybe they do, maybe they don't. And maybe it depends on gender. So males are most likely to remain in our area over winter, and females are most likely to migrate. In some species, it depends on age. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's a warm winter, they'll stay. Once it starts getting cold, they'll go. So migration um, is an iffy thing. There's gray in between the black and white of migrating versus not. And I just made a note that when it's really cold, mourning doves they lose their digits. I mean, so they're not good at cold. All right, so just they'll try, but they can die. They can have other problems because originally they were a little more common farther south. Okay. But beautiful birds. And just, I always say this because not everyone knows this. Morning is spelled with a U. All right. So they're not called the mourning doves because they come out at morning. It's because their call sounds mournful. This, um, it sounds mourning. We can often see large groups of them. Okay. Rock doves is the fancy word for pigeon. All right. So pigeons were a wild bird, but very few wild pigeons are left in Europe, and so now it's mostly the bird which was domesticated. This is Quito in Ecuador. The pigeons in the plaza are famous, but we have them in this area as well. And obviously, they get along with humans rather well. And just any species has interesting stories to it. And I remember there was an author who's famous about birds. He actually gave a talk at Warwick Library, went out with Audubon hikers. His name was Christian Cooper. But he does a lot of birding in New York City because New York City has great birding. And as he tries to get kids more interested in birding, he introduces them to pigeons. All right, so once again, like pigeons aren't my first choice, and I don't see that many of them here. But once again, if you're trying to get, kids involved in birding, in cities, pigeon's not a bad choice. And just a reminder, um, uh, here I'm going to read something, and if anyone wants to react with shock, feel free to. Great as the differences between breeds of pigeon, I'm fully convinced that all are descended from the rock pigeon, the wild species. Now, I'm going to pause and look for the shock and awe. Look at the people at home are all turning on their cameras to display their shock. All right. Smalls. Okay. So people forget when Darwin published the big, book of his, it was called The Origin of Species because that's what was in debate. That's what most people thought could not happen, that a new species could not evolve from an existing one. Most people felt that the number of species, appeared on the first day of life on Earth and would continue unchanged until the end. And he was making points like pigeons are descended from wild doves. Okay, I paused for effect for the people at home. No one in the room reacted. And so we all accept that. Of course they did. Look how similar, look how many. But that was the big thing, the idea that new species could arise. And Darwin did a lot of work with pigeons. So just pointing out that, even though, we're going to move on to another group of birds, one can, observe, learn any kind of bird. Also in the non-passerine group is this group that have enormous heads for their body called the belted kingfisher. In breeding season, the males will have a brown bar across their chest, like an auburn brown. This female lacks it. But these great birds will just, sit looking for fish, and then dive head first into the water and hopefully come out with a fish. So here we have the kingfisher, right? So that would be another one of our groups. So if you're near water, kingfishers you often hear making sound as they fly around. Every now and then, we don't have to, but every now and then I can just uh, hit a couple. We are going to do the hummingbirds, right? But here are just a couple more images of kingfishers. We often see them, and here you can see the belt on the male. It's kind of a chestnut brown. Here was one that had just caught a fish. Once again, this is just off the Heritage Trail, just near to where 6.5 Station Road meets it. The same with these images here. So, you can see a lot of great birds if you go all these wild, diverse places, but, you can walk to a lot of these as well. Okay. The next bird, which you'll see in the video, just I love, and we just saw some a couple days ago, common nighthawks. They have relatives that I have almost never seen, but you hear every now and then. One is called the whippoorwill, and one is called the Chuckswill widow, for the sounds that they make. So at night, these birds come out at night, and then if you hear either whippoorwill, whippoorwill, or Chuckswill widow, Chuckswill widow, that's as close as most people will get to them because they're nocturnal. And if one were wondering where all of these fit into the great family tree of birds, so once again, it was once thought that raptors were a thing. All right, but all hawks and eagles would be a thing. But see, falcons come out over here, owls come out over here. Kingfishers are actually, and woodpeckers are in between them. So kingfishers and woodpeckers are in between the eagles and the falcons, believe it or not. But then also today, here are the doves, along with here are the turkeys, pheasants, and grouse over here. The nighthawks are here. The swifts are here. Hummingbirds are here. So in other words, I'm ashamed of this presentation because we're just kind of like everything that wouldn't fit somewhere else we're talking about tonight. It's all over the place as far as the birds family tree goes. The next three talks, we're just going to talk about songbirds. They're all related. So that I feel like that has a little more, cohesiveness. But here they are. They have tapered wings. You're most likely to see them at dusk as they fly around hunting insects. The white stripes on their tails help them stick out. So late summer into autumn at dusk is the best place to see them. But just beautiful birds. I love the nighthawks. You can see just those long tapering wings.
Nighthawks.
Yeah.
You like those? You like
Yeah.
that?
Common nighthawks, they're relatives of whippoorwills and Chuckswill widows. Okay. Chimney swifts. So they're not doing so well. Because not to single anyone out, but like you change your chimneys. All right, like in the old days, like since the 1800s, chimneys have been like a great place for chimney swifts. But our chimneys have are changed, and so they are not thriving the way they once did. They fly more than any other bird. If you've never seen one perched, you are not alone. Almost no one sees them perched unless you're like in a chimney at night. They look like swallows. So those are swallows. Those are tree swallows, but they are not. If you have an old bird book, chimneys and swallows and swifts are right next to each other in the guidebook. Now we know swallows are songbirds. Swifts, once again, are not in the songbird group at all. Uh, I'll tell you who they're related to, but I have to build it up first. So they are in the air all the time. All right. So they put on more miles than almost any other bird. And if you think who might be their cousins, you realize, all right, the hummingbirds. All right. So just they're constantly being in the air and their maneuverability in flight. Um,
How do they eat?
oh, they eat bugs.
There you go.
Yeah, so
Somebody
they're
heard.
they're they're flying around hunting. Just so they look like swallows. They're not related, but swallows and swifts are doing the same thing. They're feeding on flying insects high in the air. Yeah, once again, I'm sorry, I don't have good pictures of them because they don't perch. You know, you just see, oh, there's a quick bird flying over air. It's a small little songbird. Let hope my camera can focus on that, not the cloud behind it, and it rarely works. Okay. So let me talk about our hummingbird and then just a little bit about hummingbirds in general. East of the Mississippi, we primarily just have one species of hummingbird, the ruby-throated hummingbird. It is possible to see other species rarely. They are exotic. So if you were to check eBird, every now and then you'll say, oh, someone saw another hummingbird other than a ruby-throated. But I never have. It just, you know, if you see a hummingbird in our area, it is the ruby-throated. Females lack the bright red ruby throat that the males um, would have. And I'm sure somewhere I have a picture of that, so we'll just jump to that real quick. Hummingbirds in general are just amazing birds. We could just rattle off so many things about them, having the highest metabolism of invertebrates, the fastest heart rate, the fastest respiration, etc., because they have to power, you know, their ability to hover in midair. Like the woodpeckers that we're about to talk about, they have amazing tongues. So, all right, so a lot of birds have long tongues. But then if your tongue can then stick out beyond the tip of your bill, then the question is, well, where do you keep it when it's not been? And for both woodpeckers and hummingbirds, the answer is the tongue will then go over the back of their head and end at their eye. All right. So that when they stick their tongue out the tip of the bill, it's because now it muscles have now pushed it into the mouth area. But you know, you have to keep a long tongue somewhere, and that's how they store it here. And with such a long tongue, then, you know, they are able to reach into flowers. Not only this helps them, and this, you know, allows them to feed, obviously, but it obviously helps the flower because a lot of flowers are pollinated by hummingbirds. In fact, some count on it. So look at the cardinal flower. All right. Hey, it's red. All right, what does that mean? It means it's not trying to attract bees. Bees see red as black. All right, so if you see a red flower, it's working on either hummingbirds or butterflies. And then the tubular shape of this flower depends on hummingbirds, all right, because only the hummingbird with its long bill and tongue can access the nectar in the flower. All right, so hummingbirds are awesome, and I love, you know, our hummingbird, the ruby-throated hummingbird. However, if you want to see more hummingbirds, as my song at the beginning suggested, you go to South America, which is probably where hummingbirds evolved. And if you had to pick a country, you go to Ecuador. All right, so Ecuador is probably the hummingbird capital of the world. And the New World is the hummingbird place. They evolved here. All right, so if you were to go to like Europe, Asia, Africa, and say, "Oh, I want to see your hummingbirds," you know, they wouldn't have them. All right, so this is an American thing, and it's the tropics of the Americas which have the most. So I think in general, you know, you can always have exotic ones swing in and out, but I think in general, in the United States, you're looking at about 10 species of hummingbird. Okay, if you were to go land in Quito, which is would be where the international airport is in Ecuador, and say, oh, I want to go to this place near the coast that I'll show you in a second. I'm just going to kind of ride through the Andes. All right, there's the road you'll take. You'll drive on this road. And then as you get like partway through, you realize, wow, they know that tourists love hummingbirds because you'll say like a little diner, like, oh, this hummingbird cafe, this hummingbird cafe. You stop, you're going to use the restroom to get a drink or whatever. And they have hummingbird feeders in the back. I saw 10 species in about 15 minutes. Just sitting at the roadside cafe, they had a little table in the back. So, I could go from Florida to Maine and up into Canada and see one species. But here I can just sit at a bench at a roadside cafe and see 10. Okay. Now, there's even more at the next place, but just to show you the diversity of hummingbirds. And if you're struck by all of the different colors, etc., well, obviously, because we have this problem with the warblers, with the ducks, but the hummingbirds have it. You know, who do you have sex with? Now, I know that sounds silly. I mean, at least to us, because, if you have a partner who looks human, they probably are. I mean, the only other things that look human that aren't Homo sapiens, they died a long time ago. So anyone who looks Homo sapiens is, all right? But look at these hummingbirds. They're all like a lot of hummingbirds. So if you want to pick a mate, you've got a lot of wrong options, all right? Because there's a lot of species out there. So that's where like the bright colors come into play. Where like, the females of this species know my males have the violet throat and the long tail feathers. The females of that species know to look a little bit different, etc. So anyway, the end. So this was, I'm just not advertising for anyone. But if you ever want to go with a National Geographic affiliated Lindblad to the Galapagos, great tour company to go through. But they offer like a pre-excursion little thing to Ecuador, and they go to this place called Mashpi Lodge. It's a wildlife preserve about 10 square miles here. So once again, 10 square miles, they have as many bird species as New York State. All right. So just the earth has wonderful diversity. It's not evenly spread out. We have great birds, all right, but Ecuador has far more diverse birds, not as many species, not as many individuals. Like we have birds which are common, whereas in Ecuador you see lots of species, but not huge numbers of any one. But just a great number of birds, and in addition, a great number of hummingbirds. So they have places where like you go and there's hummingbirds that come every day to the feeders they have out. So if you put feeders in your hand, they all land on your hand. It's like, oh, absolutely wonderful. Now I do want to get back to Orange County, et cetera, but just point out our wildlife is wonderful. But the world's a big place, and there are so many wonderful places, and each of these groups of birds, there might be a part of the world where that's their specialty. Like Ecuador is the hummingbird capital of the world. If you ever traveled Moshpi Lodge, the roads there are like, I mean, they're just bumpy. They're not great. It's like it's just amazing. Like like the whole thing from like Jurassic Park, that big, where the first one, where like, oh, here's this beautiful lodge, the best, just absolutely beautiful place to stay, and they do like all of these, trips out from there. So yeah, if you're ever traveling, that's a great place to go. All right, and I had a little song on it here, and so these are a couple from Paraguay and South America to start off with. The last big group, and then we can, talk about whatever, is the hummingbird. I'm sorry, my fault. The woodpeckers. So just kudos. Like if I were to hit my head against the wall, it would hurt and I would stop. They keep going. In fact, they keep hammering and hammering and hammering hard enough to make holes in wood. All right, like I can't do that with a hammer. So there's the adaptations they have, reinforced skull. They have muscles in their neck which help to transmit forces from the impacts down to the rest of their body and away from their head, because otherwise they get concussions, etc. So there's that. Now, not only are you making a hole, but then once again, you have that tongue that goes into it. So they've got these huge tongues that end at the eye, often covered by like barbs at the tip. So once you make a hole and there might be a bug like a beetle larva in the hole, you shoot the tongue out that has mucus on the tip that grabs them or stabs them, etc. Here. Now, if we wanted to get into records, I'm not sure that's the biggest hummingbird, or I'm sorry, why am I doing that? The biggest woodpecker in North America. All right, tell you what, we'll get back to drumming. I was talking about pileated. Let me just finish that thought. We'll go down to pileated. Okay. I'm not sure that this is the biggest North American woodpecker, but that's because the imperial woodpecker from Mexico was bigger, but hasn't been seen since I think the 1980s. We think it's extinct. It's, you hate to be like absolutely positive. It's always possible that a bird they haven't seen in a while pops up, but we think the imperial is extinct. The second largest was the ivory-billed woodpecker. We also think that's extinct, but there were talks in Cuba of seeing them. There were talks in Arkansas of seeing them. So both of those, I don't think we say with absolute certainty that they were gone. But if they are, then the pileated woodpecker that we have in our area is then North America's largest woodpecker. Uh, Among the other options they have, look what it's doing with its tail feathers. Its tail feathers are reinforced because it kind of sits on them. All right, it's supporting its weight on its tail feathers as it makes all of these holes. I think I have a picture in here somewhere. We don't have to get crazy into it. But most birds have a foot where three toes go forward and one toe faces the other way, so it's called a perching foot. But then lots of birds can mess with that, like owls. Owls have two toes pointing forward and two toes from the back. Two toes forward and then two toes pointing back. Woodpeckers vary, but woodpeckers can have like one of these toes which swings around from another angle. You know what? I apologize. I'm angry. I make a lot of videos, um, but that then also means I lose a lot of videos. And I think I just got really nice video earlier this year. Yeah, there we go. 6 months ago. And, but then often when I make a new video, I forget to add it to a playlist.
Very old woodpeckers.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. So this is just a beautiful set of pictures where a pileated, there you can see the long tongue. Let me get really close at one of the Audubon sanctuaries near Warwick. It's called Norman Brook. So I just figured we'd have these nice pictures in the back. But if you look at the toes, see like it doesn't have like three toes pointing forward. See how this one is like kind of pointing out to the side? So because it's going to try to support its weight hanging vertically on the tree, they modified their feet just like they've modified other parts um, of their anatomy for their lifestyle. The woodpecking, like if you can get over like the concussion part, there's so many advantages to it. One is if you're an insect-eating bird, and lots are, winter poses a problem because most of the bugs are gone. Now, bugs aren't dead in winter, they're just harder to find. But if you can make holes in wood, you found the bugs. You found the big juicy beetle larvae and others. And so you can stay all winter. You don't have to migrate the way that like warblers do, which eat insects. So that's one advantage of being able to peck in wood. Another one is birds are most vulnerable when they are eggs and when they are nestlings. And the problem then is how do you hide your nest, especially if you're what's called a cavity nester. Wood ducks are, tree swallows are. You want to nest in a hole, all right, because that's better than an open, thing in a branch. But most of the predators in the area know where the holes are, all right, because that's where they ate the baby birds last year. And so woodpeckers make new holes that predators don't know where they are yet. All right, so lots of birds use old woodpecker holes. Pileated holes are famous for being big and square. But they can continue to make new holes, which means their young have a greater likelihood of surviving than the young of many other species because of that advantage that they have. So that's I don't know. I did put that. Now, what I just said is true, but there is another thing, not to speak ill of anybody. But another factor is woodpeckers can eat the babies of other they eat baby birds too. Lots of birds do. So I don't know why it's not moving. So woodpeckers do go to other nests and prey on baby birds. Blue jays do, crows and ravens do, the raptors do as well. So that was the pileated woodpecker. Let's kind of take a tour. All right. And while we're here, why don't we do this is a more unusual woodpecker called the northern flicker. It's unusual for a couple of reasons. It feeds mostly on the ground where it eats ants. In fact, this bird eats more ants than any other North American bird. And there have been studies where they find, they either find or shoot in the old days a flicker and, how many thousands of ants were in its gut at a time. Um, as a result, it is the most migratory. All right, so two woodpeckers might be passing through our area right around now because they are migrating south because their insect prey is harder to find. The pileated is going to hunt for them in holes in trees, but flickers hunt mainly ants on the ground, so they have to go south. All right, so uh, uh, there's a flicker doing that. And the flicker in our area is called the yellow shafted flicker. All right, and obviously, if you just see it like on its tail, etc., you can see the yellow on its tails as opposed to the red shafted flicker that you would find out west. Okay, so once again, do birds migrate? Yeah, a lot of times it's kind of, sort of. Flickers would be an example of that. Canada's flickers, they migrate. Georgia's flickers probably stay. In our area, you can see flickers all winter long. Last year, when we did our Christmas bird count for Audubon, we did see a flicker. They usually migrate through, but we saw it in the dead of winter last time. They're more likely to go south, though, for the reasons that I had just said. So by feeding on the ground, migrating, once again, those two things, they are less like other woodpeckers uh, for those reasons. And you can see these all over the place. They make a call that's very similar to the pileated, and it's similar to the point where, like, a lot of the apps you might have on your phone, like Merlin, might be confused. It'll guess it's one of these two, but it is hard to distinguish between. Now, the other bird that is a partial migrant is this beautiful bird called the yellow-bellied sapsucker. This is a male in spring. Uh, when they're not breeding, and females, they don't have the bright red in the coloration. And also, if you look, that's a different hole than the pileated was making. The pileated was making a big hole to go inside and get the bugs. This is making a shallow hole just deep enough to reach the inner bark of the tree so that sap comes out, because sap forms a large part of its diet. Not all of it, like it's called the sapsucker. Sap is a big part of its diet, like maybe 20%, if I recall from what I read. So it eats a lot of bugs that don't, it doesn't have to eat just sap. But that's kind of unique. So if you ever go to a tree and you see all these little holes in a row, you're like, aha, that was a yellow-bellied sapsucker, which was in this area. They can stay throughout the winter, but once again, because they're depending a lot on sap, and we're really not going to have sap flowing until, unless it's an evergreen, until spring, a little more likely to migrate than most other woodpeckers. So most woodpeckers will stay all winter in our area, but flickers and yellow-bellied sapsuckers, they are the two exceptions, which are a little less likely to. Okay, so we have another. So here you can see the yellow on the belly for which it gets its name. All right, and you can see differences, like the males and females look a little bit different. Okay, all right, so that was a woodpecker. Then the other woodpeckers in our area is red-bellied woodpeckers. Now, I put together an Audubon newsletter each month. And the one I'm doing for this month, we're starting to wrap it up now, has a picture of the red belly of a red-bellied woodpecker. It's a weird name because the red on their belly is like the last thing that you would ever notice. So it's weird that you would name them for that. It's the red on the head, which seems brilliant. However, there is a red-headed woodpecker that's all red. These guys have a stripe that goes to their forehead if they're male, where they have a stripe on the nape of their neck if they're female. So they have a brilliant red on their head, but because there is a woodpecker that has much more of the brilliant red, they don't get the name the red-headed woodpecker. Uh, the species name of this woodpecker is carolinensis because you'd see it in the Carolinas. It used to occur down more south, but it has been getting warmer. All right, if you like to ski, you know it's getting warmer. You know, skiing starts later, end earlier. I mean, I don't have to tell you. Our winters have been warmer, so more and more birds are occurring farther north, like black vultures and Carolina wrens. And there's a list of birds, which mockingbirds, which we didn't used to see as much during winter, now are fairly common. This one as well. So it has been expanding its range ever northward. Is there a new chat? Just checking. Flickers have been on my lawn. Oh, okay. Oh, 2 flickers this morning. Wonderful. Oh, I'm sorry we lost one by the car. Thank you for sharing. So red-bellied woodpeckers are fairly loud and vocal. There's the female. Notice that her red does not go to the tip of her bill the way it would in a male. Okay. And then our last 2 woodpeckers are kind of hard to tell apart. They are a little different in size. The downy is smaller. The hairy woodpecker is a little bit bigger. And they differ in a couple of things, like the downy does have black spots on the tips of the tail feathers, which are on the sides. But the easiest way, it's doing something called drumming. I'll tell you what, the next video goes into how you tell them apart. Um, what is it doing? I mean, like, I wouldn't want to bang my head on a hard surface to eat. It's not even trying to eat, it's just doing it for fun. It's like, what's doing that? Especially in spring, this is known as drumming, so that males will advertise a territory to females and then also to other males. Like, hey, like this is my zone in here. So if you just hear like rat tat 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 like in rapid succession, it's not making a hole looking for bugs. It's advertising, especially in winter. So there's a bunch of things that you can look at, but it's still hard. But what you look at is the bill. All right, so the bill. Downies have a shorter bill. Okay, so they're sparrow size, not robin size. They're a little small. And if you look at the bill, it's a third of the head width. Or so look at that compared to the rest of the head. When we see the hairies, you'll see it's almost as long as the rest of the head. All right, so that's the best way to tell the difference between a downy. Look at that bill. It is not, as long as the head. And if you were to look on the tail, which we'll see in a second, so here are just all these different. Oh, also there's a little white tuft of feathers there. That's a little more obvious in downies than in hairies. Somewhere I get to the tail feathers. All right. So there's a couple spots on the tail. We'll see a little bit. If you were to move, you can see spots on the tail. All right. Not the easiest thing in the world to see, but nevertheless, it is really hard to distinguish between downies and hairies. Hairies have much longer bills and have really good pictures. I'm not sure. Like one's going in this year's calendar because we just took it a month ago. So this is a little bigger. It's the size of a robin or a jay, as opposed to more sparrow size. But if we could get a good image. Peckers. So we'll just kind of zip through now. So the pileateds, beautiful there. Red-bellied woodpeckers. Once again, the male has the red going all the way to the tip, while the females would not. Here's woodpecker holes. You see one coming out of a hole where it's raising its young. There's the female with the um, stripe not going quite as far. Here they have the downies have um, shorter bills. Okay, whereas the hairy, right, would have a longer. Oh, you know what? Darn it, where's? I'm sorry, I do have new pictures which are going into the. I'm not quite sure if I can access them here. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna. Here's hoping. Harry's are not as easy to see. Did I? No, I don't think I did.
Diversity, preserve
Sorry.
hotspots of diversity.
Sorry, I was just making a calendar and it was just there. Where would I, did I email it to myself? Ooh, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm just gonna, I want you to see it. I apologize. So I'm trying to think. I think I just emailed a draft of the calendar, which if any here would like an Audubon calendar or a, let's see, or a Bashakil calendar. I think I just, there we go. Here's the first draft I just sent to everyone at the Bashakil just for to glance at as we start going over the schedule. But which month would I put it in? Somewhere. Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. So this is a pheasant at the Bashakil. So just like this, I saw this last December. But you look at all the colors there. So not only did people from the old world say like I like eating pheasant, I'd like to introduce them to the United States. Just the color of them is beautiful. And there we go. Ah, okay. So Harry's are not as easy to see, but if you can just take a look at the bill, see how long that is? Like from the base to the tip, it's almost as long as the whole rest of the head. So they are very difficult to tell the difference between downies. Once again, a little bit bigger, but the bill length, that would be the feature that you would want to key in. Okay. Okay. So, oh, and just so you know, hopefully within a month, we'll have 2 calendars here if you're interested in bird calendars for next year. So there is so much to say on birds, not only like birds in groups, but then also just, birds in ecosystems and migrations and food chains. And, so we'll have talks on all of these topics. We thought that, a semester-long series of talks would be a way to do it, but we're kind of stuck right now in the groups, just going through the groups one by one. We had done the waterfowl, the aquatic birds, the raptors. Today was a lot of the birds that don't fit into one of those categories that are not songbirds. And then starting then next week will be the next songbirds for 3 weeks, where we'll start off with flycatchers and thrushes, and then we'll get into cardinals and tanagers and finches, and then the last week will be the sparrows and the warblers. Does anyone have any questions? All right. Well, thank you so very much for coming. I hope you had a nice night. I hope you get out. It's such a beautiful time to go birding, with the autumn colors. So there's so many great places to go. Here. If anyone would like to get added to mailing lists of either the Bashkil Area Association or Audubon, where you get sent newsletters and the like, just give me your email now, or you don't have to give it to me. I mean, you can just go on, their websites are here. You can say, hey, contact, please add me to your list as well. But I'm on the board on both, so I could, forward the names along. Once again, we'll have calendar soon. And if you're interested in things like bird walks, like for example, the Audubon Society, if you were to go, they have presentations like these. Then there are the upcoming, we did a nature walk at the Bashakil and a kayak Sunday, but we'll have a couple more coming up, like the Shwangan grasslands, a heritage trail hike in early November. So, if you'd like to get out, we'd love to have you. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank you very much,
Good
Doc.
night.
Yeah,
Thank
here,
you.
good night. I'm sorry, let me just, I saw
night.
one chat. I just want to check on that, and then I'll be right with. Please send me the calendar info. Ooh, okay. Yeah, so the calendar info here, tell you what, I just sent it to the printer and they're getting it back to me in 2 weeks. And then I will have them at every talk and walk that I give, and then I'll promote them then. So if I don't send you anything, it's because I don't have anything. I just sent the Audubon calendar off, and the Bashakil one we're trying to finalize in the next week and a half. So that's the schedule. I'll have them, and I'd love to make them available to you later. Yes, I'm sorry, you had a question.
Are the downy and the hairy, are they territorial? You seem to get a lot of them on our suet here.
Ooh, good question.
I don't think they one comes in, eats a little bit, and they go into another one swallows it. And I have a hard time tell the difference.
I don't know, like, I definitely know, like, the drumming behavior, I see Downies do a lot, like the Downies where they're just drumming. That's a territorial thing, like, this is my space. But as far as chasing off birds, I've never seen them do that. Sure.
On the way in here, a friend of mine.
Oh, dear.
sent this.
Here, I'm sorry. Nice to see you. Take care. Oh, it's a red shoulder, right?
Yeah, that's what we
Yeah,
thought.
yeah, it looks like a red shoulder.
Yeah, he said where he was working, was hanging around.
I had, when we do what we do in the winter time when it snows, is we have a tray that we put the seed on, and we have a roof over it,
Uh-huh.
so they can, birds, the ground feeders can.
Oh, that's nice. That's
And,
nice.
we had a red belly, I mean, one leg.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I
Huh.
was like really surprised, it's down there one leg and it's picking away, and I'm like,
Wow.
okay, we're not bothering you.
No.
I don't know how long it survived, but it was,
Wow.
it made it do part of the.
I
winter.
wonder why that would be.
Thank you.
All right,
Okay, well, thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Happy birding.
Thank you, Doctor.
Take care. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, so presentations, if you were to go to events, to field trips, yeah, so all of these. Yeah, and actually, like, it's fun because a lot of the people who come to these talks, they might say, oh, I remember you from this walk. Yeah, so always welcome.
Okay.
I'm going.
Okay, good night. Have a wonderful evening.